Join us as we dive deep into this thrilling episode of Cripples, Bastards, and Broken Things. Witness Ned's relentless investigation into Arryn's mysterious death, unraveling political plots that could shake the realm. Meanwhile, Jon Snow steps up to protect Sam in a world fraught with danger and betrayal. And when Tyrion finds himself in the wrong place at the wrong time, the stakes get even higher. Will loyalties hold, or will secrets prevail amidst conflict? Don't miss out on this intense breakdown packed with analysis, theories, and timestamps that every fan of Westeros won't want to miss. In Winterfell, Bran Stark has a nightmare in which he sees a raven with 3 eyes, sitting on one of the stone direwolves outside the doorway to the Stark crypts. He wakes up to find his direwolf Summer by his side. Theon Greyjoy summons Hodor, the castle's dim-witted stableboy, who can only say the word Hodor, to help carry Bran down to the throne room, where Robb Stark is hosting a meeting with Tyrion Lannister and Yoren, both traveling down from the Wall to King's Landing together. Robb very pointedly offers hospitality to any man of the Watch, silently letting Tyrion know he is not invited to stay at Winterfell. When Bran arrives, Tyrion asks if he likes to ride and sympathizes with him for being a cripple, which annoys Bran. But Tyrion simply says that like being a dwarf. It is the truth, no less so for being a hard truth. He gives Bran the design of a saddle, which will allow Bran to ride even in his current state. Tyrion explains to Robb that you must shape the horse to the rider, by starting with a yearling and training it to respond to the reins and Bran's voice, as he can't use his heels. He does it to repay Bran's half-brother's friendship, and because he has a weakness for cripples, bastards, and broken things, due to this kindness. Robb says he can stay, but Tyrion says he would prefer the brothel in town. As he prepares to leave the castle, Theon comes to Tyrion and rather condescendingly sends him off, recommending the prostitute Rose at the brothel. Tyrion asks Theon why Lady Catelyn was not present to receive him, and concludes that Catelyn is not in Winterfell. He also taunts Theon about how the son of the ferocious Balon Greyjoy has been reduced to playing lackey in Winterfell to his captors, which infuriates Theon, and gives him a coin, assuming that he has not already had sex with Rose. At Castle Black, a new recruit for the Night's Watch has arrived, Samwell Tarly, the son of the famous Lord Randall Tarly. Samwell is fat, soft, and pampered, and in his first practice fight does dismally. Esser Alliser Thorne has no time for his weakness. He directs the other recruits to attack Esser Piggy, but Jon Snow finds this cruel and unfair and takes pity on Sam and fends off the attackers. Thorne tries to turn it into a game, ordering 3 trainees take on Sam's protector, taunting Jon that he has found a new lady love, but Jon nevertheless fends them all off. Samwell is naive and self-deprecating, claiming to be a coward and craven. To Jon's astonishment, no one admits to being a coward, and Gren says that they shouldn't even be seen talking to him. Sam joins Jon on the wall for sentry duty. Even though he says his eyesight is weak, he is afraid of heights and can't take the cold. Jon asks why he joined the Night's Watch, as he is afraid of everything. Sam tells him that on his 18th name day his father offered him a choice. Sam was a man and his heir, but he was not skilled at combat. He was unworthy of his name and birthright. Samwell's father forced him to join the Night's Watch and told him that if he refused, he would arrange a hunting trip with his son in the woods, and implied that Sam would be killed in a way that looked accidental. Jon is shocked that a true-born son of high birth should be treated worse than he himself had been as a bastard. Sam knows that the next day he will be made to fight again, and expects it to be bad. At the Wall, Jon orders the recruits to go easy on Sam, but Rast refuses, saying that if Esser Alliser orders him to fight Lady Piggy, he will slice himself off a side of bacon. In response to Rast's comments, Jon goes to his bed that night and uses his direwolf ghost to intimidate Rast into playing along. The next day, no one will fight Sam. After Gren takes a very weak blow from Sam and yields, Esser Alliser scolds Jon for his rebellious actions. Later, when Jon and Sam are cleaning the dining hall, they talk about how neither of them have been with a woman. Sam tells Jon that he has not had success with girls, while Jon reveals he'd rather not risk siring a child that will have the life of a bastard like himself. A furious Alliser Thorne comes in and tells Jon that this charity won't help Sam harden up to survive the winter that is coming. He tells them the truly horrific experience he went through, trapped by a blizzard north of the Wall, that ended in cannibalism. Khal Drogo's khalasar arrives at Vaes Dothrak, the Dothraki city. There are no city walls, but there is a large gateway arch made of 2 statues of rearing horses. Viserys is annoyed that Drogo has been taking his army in the wrong direction. Later, he bathes with Doria and tells her about how he was raised with stories about the Targaryen dragons and his own destiny. He recites the names of several dragons and tells her about the skulls of dragons that once decorated the throne room at King's Landing. But she starts to annoy him with talk of dragons, reminding him that they are dead. He tells her to finish pleasuring him in silence. Later that day, Viserys is enraged when Daenerys sends Doria with an invite for him to dine with her, as he interprets this as his sister commanding him to come. He drags Doria into Daenerys' tent and insults her dinner and the gifts of clothes she tries to give him as a way of making amends for having previously confiscated his horse. He is still dressed in his now ragged clothes from Pentos, having refused to dress like a Dothraki, whom he regards as savages. He sneers that next she will try to braid his hair like a Dothraki. Angered by his ingratitude, Daenerys retorts that he has no right to braid his hair until he is victorious in battle, which further infuriates him. A furious Viserys tackles her to the ground and tries to strike her, calling her nothing but a horse lord slut, and warning her that she's awoken the dragon. But this time she fights back, hitting him in the face with a metal and leather belt. She tells a stunned Viserys, who can only gawp at her in astonishment, that she is the Khale's wife and is carrying his child, and by implication, Viserys is nothing to the Dothraki, and warns that if he raises a hand against her again, he will lose his hands. Later, Daenerys confides in Mormont her realization that Viserys will never become king of Westeros. He is so weak and ineffectual that he couldn't command an army even if Drogo gave him one, to which Jorah agrees. In the Red Keep, Sansa Stark visits the throne room where the Iron Throne sits. She and Septa Mordane discuss the expectation that Sansa will have to provide Joffrey with an heir. Sansa thinks the realm will hate her if she only has daughters, along with her belief Joffrey is still angry over the incident by the river, and her anger at her father over Lady's death. During a meeting of the small council, Lord Eddard learns that the forthcoming tournament to celebrate his appointment is seeing the city swell with visitors, and has already resulted in a tavern riot, a brothel fire, 3 stabbings, and a drunken horse race. He tells Littlefinger that money will have to be found to strengthen the city guards, as well as lending 20 of his own men to Janos Slynt's command until the tournament is over. After the meeting, Eddard talks to Grand Maester Pycelle about Jon Arryn's last few weeks. Pycelle said he did all he could to save Jon Arryn, but the illness was sudden and severe. He recalls that shortly before his sudden illness, Arryn had borrowed a truly boring book about the lineages of the 7 kingdoms, and his last words were, "The seed is strong." Taking the book with him, Eddard comes across Arya in the hall, standing on one leg as part of her training with Syrio. Arya asks whether Bran would be able to live in King's Landing with them now that he's awoken, but Eddard states that he would have to regain his strength first. Arya then comments that Bran had always wanted to be a knight in the Kingsguard, but will no longer be able to, due to his paralysis. Eddard confirms this to be the case, but states that Bran will be able to do many other things, such as become Lord of a Holdfast, sit on the King's Council, or raise castles. When Arya asks if she would be able to become any of those, Eddard instead tells her that she will marry a highborn lord, and have lords and princes for sons. However, Arya is not pleased with this response, telling her father, "That's not me." She goes back to balancing on one leg as Eddard looks on. Littlefinger meets with Eddard and suggests that he keep his investigation into Jon Arryn's death lower in profile. He also gives Eddard some interesting intelligence. Jon Arryn's former squire has been knighted and will fight in the forthcoming Hands tourney. He also advises him to investigate an armorer located in the city Eddard. Decides that Littlefinger may be more trustworthy than he first thought, but Littlefinger discourages him from thinking that way. Eddard sends Jory Castle to question Jon Arryn's former squire, Esser Hugh of the Vale. However, deducing that Jory was not a knight, Esser Hugh simply rebuffs him and refuses to speak with him due to his much lower rank. Eddard's investigation leads him to a smithy in the city, where he meets master smith Tobho Mott and his apprentice Gendry, whose work Jon Arryn was also apparently interested in. Mott has Gendry show Eddard a bull's head helm he made as a sample of his work, which Eddard commends, but Gendry adds that it's not for sale. Mott scolds him, but Gendry states he made it for himself, and Eddard assures Mott he's not offended. Gendry tells him that Jon would drop by and ask other questions as well, such as if he liked being at Mott's smithy, and if he was treated well, then on who his mother was. Studying his face, Eddard realizes that Gendry is one of King Robert's bastard sons, but can't work out why Jon Arryn would be interested in this, Robert has many bastard children and shows little interest in any of them. On leaving, he tells Mott that if Gendry should become interested in wielding a sword instead of forging them, to send him to Eddard. Later, Eddard sends Jory with a message for King Robert, but upon arriving at his quarters, Jory hears the voices of a number of women coming from Robert's chamber. Sir Jaime Lannister happens to be on duty and is angry that the king keeps him guarding his chamber while he cavorts with other women inside, flaunting his dishonorable treatment of Jaime's sister in his face. He and Jory reminisce about the Greyjoy Rebellion, in which they both fought for King Robert's forces to put down an attempt by Balon Greyjoy, Theon's father, to secede the Iron Islands from the rest of the realm. Jory tries to leave Eddard's message with Jaime, but is rebuffed as Jaime angrily states that he does not serve Lord Stark. The tournament begins and Sansa watches from the stands. Esser Gregor Clegane, the elder brother of Sandor Clegane the Hound, takes the field. His first joust is with Esser Hugh. However, the friendly joust turns nasty, and Gregor kills Esser Hugh by accident, with a splinter of the lance impaling his neck. Littlefinger sits next to Sansa and remarks that she and Joffrey have had a lover's quarrel, as Joffrey is still giving her the cold shoulder. Bellish then tells Sansa that Gregor, the mountain that rides, has a dark reputation. He pushed his little brother Sandor's face into a fire for taking and playing with a toy of his when they were young, burning him severely. Littlefinger recommends that Sansa not spread that story around. Cersei visits Eddard at his chambers, remarking at how the Hand is not at his own tournament, though Cersei attempts to start the conversation in an attempt to put the incident on the King's Road behind them. Eddard correctly deduces that she has an ulterior motive for her visit. Cersei then wonders aloud to Eddard what his true purpose is for being at King's Landing, as she knows how little Starks enjoy being in the capital. When Eddard tells her he is there to faithfully serve their king, Cersei remarks that just as his brother Brandon was born to lead, Eddard was born to follow. At the Crossroads Inn, Catelyn and Esser Roderick Castle, traveling in secret to Winterfell, are eating a meal, while Troubadour Marillion tries to ingratiate himself with them. They are surprised when Tyrion Lannister and Yoren arrive. When told there is no vacancy, Tyrion holds up a gold coin and asks if someone has a room for him. Sellsword Bronn agrees to give his to Tyrion. Marillion draws the attention of Tyrion to Catelyn's table by offering to serenade him while he eats, singing of his father's military victories. Tyrion is surprised to see Catelyn and inadvertently ends her anonymity. Catelyn tells the stunned inn that Tyrion tried to murder her son Bran twice, and that she asks their help in bringing him to the king's justice. The inn is located in the Riverlands, in the territory controlled by her father, so the knights present owe him their fealty. Tyrion finds himself surrounded by half a dozen men with swords, and in Catelyn's custody.